Hi, this is David Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. All right, let's address the elephant in the room. I've missed a number of episodes. This is true. And people say, there's no excuse. Of course there's an excuse. There's always an excuse. If you put your mind to it, yeah. I saw a bumper sticker years ago that said, no problem is so big that you can't blame it on somebody else. So full disclosure, what happened? What happened is that my producer is in America for personal reasons, family matters that he needs to attend to. And therefore, he has left it to my own designs to make sure that I do the filming for the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Now, I read all the comments. I don't always address all the comments, but I do read all the comments. And there's been a number of comments recently of people saying, what happened to the quality of the production of the Rabbi Orlofsky Show? Yeah, well, full disclosure, the Rabbi Orlofsky studio, which is in Michal's house, is not open because he's away. That leaves it to me to have to film this on my own little computer. And that's why the quality is not the quality you've come to expect for the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. What can I do? Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do. I have no idea what happens anyway. Full disclosure, we're doing this on Zoom. And Michal had to set up my computer so that I don't have to record it, because I filmed a number of podcasts and I forgot to push the little record button, and I had to do them all over again. And it's really hard because, believe it or not, it takes a tremendous amount of energy to do this podcast, to try to be able to keep it interesting. I know it just looks like I just sit here and schmooze. Yeah, but the fact of the matter is I have to maintain an energy level. That's not easy. Yeah. I'm at an age now when, the idea of a really good time is a nap. So here I go, and I do the whole podcast, 40 minutes, and suddenly, boom, it turns around that it didn't record it and I have to do the whole thing over again. So he set up my computer that it automatically goes right to him, and he deals with it from that point onwards. But until then, he expects me to have to deal with it. And that's what has been going on. And at some point, he said to me, I have a organization, I won't mention the name, who has volunteered to come down to your home and film you so that we can go back to the regular high quality that everyone has come to expect from the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And I said, okay. And I waited a week, and I waited 2 weeks, and they never came. And Michal says, I don't know what happened. They said they were going to come. They didn't come. So I was, there was a poor communication. And so I ended up missing a couple of podcasts. You know how when you fall out of something, it's hard for you to get back where you were. Just reality. You know that. How many people have lost an enormous amount of weight, sure that they're going to keep it off forever? And then at some point, they fall off the wagon and they end up eating again, but they're going to lose it again. And then when they finally do, they've gained back a substantial portion of the weight. Now, I never did that. Whenever I would lose weight, I would always gain it back with interest. If I never dieted, I would have been probably 60 pounds lighter than I was at the height of my weight loss program. But it's a really hard thing. And you say, yeah, I'm gonna tomorrow, the next day, another week. The time goes by, and so at some point I realized that weeks had gone by and I still had not done a podcast. And I said, that's it. Ad kan. Now I'm just going to buckle down, regardless of any excuses, regardless of anything, and I'm going to sit down and do the podcast. That was 2 weeks ago. So what happened? All right. Well, part of it is we went on a vacation. My family went on a vacation. I came along to drive. I'm not a vacation person. You know, what could be more exciting than the actual life that I live? I got a nice bed. I got a great air conditioner. We have good food, and there's no mosquitoes, and there's no flies, and I'm completely on my own schedule. I can go and give my daf yomi in person, But okay, but everybody needed a vacation to go swimming. I'm not a swimmer. I never learned how to swim. I went to camp for like 3 years. Swim instruction. They used to have first period in August when it's 40 degrees outside. The counselors are all wearing sweatsuits, and we're supposed to little skinny little children in their little bathing suits to jump into the freezing water. Well, you don't jump in. You take like a pickaxe and you chop a hole in it. And but I don't know why. Could be one of my many learning disabilities. But when you do the crawl and you have to, turn your head to breathe and put it back in and put it in, I didn't have enough time when I turned my head to take a breath. So I could only swim as long as I could until I ran out of air. Now, I could do the backstroke. The problem with the backstroke is you can't steer. You end up in a completely different place than where you intended to be. Yeah. And so going to a pool, I would trade going to a pool any day for the hot mikveh that I go to on Erev Shabbos. Oh, just sitting there. But anyway, so I went on vacation. So I had to give my shiurim on somebody's phone. So I thought, well, maybe I'll film the podcast. But if you think that the quality is not so good now, when you film things with your phone, it's like a hostage video, like, help, come and get me, help. I just couldn't see myself filming the Rabbi Orlofsky show on a phone. Yeah. By the way, if anyone is actually being held hostage and made a hostage video, please don't be offended. I know that's the order of the day. Everyone is offended. You have to be offended. Yeah. Yeah. Jackie Mason used to do that. The late Jackie Mason at the end of a show would go, I don't want to hear anybody is offended. What are you offended? Someone's getting up trying to make a living, telling some jokes. What are you offended? Trust me, if you're offended, you don't have long to live. Let me tell you. I have this routine that I do about an Oneg Shabbos and getting speakers for Oneg Shabbos. And I talk about how, after it gets hard, and so they brought someone in to speak about their recent trip to Romania. The synagogues in Bucharest are like sort of like a Muslim influence, like with domes. Okay, I've been telling this joke for 30 years. Yeah. One time I do this, and this woman comes up to me and said, I'm offended because I'm from Bucharest. I said, what are you offended about? Why are you offended? The shuls in Bucharest have a Muslim influence, and they have domes. What are you offended about? She wasn't sure. She wasn't sure, but she was offended. You mentioned Bucharest. I'm from Bucharest. I'm offended. Yeah. So if you are actually being held hostage, I apologize. I certainly don't mean to disparage the quality of your cell phone videos asking for ransom. Guy said he was kidnapped, and his father received instructions to put $10,000 in a hollow tree in New Jersey. So he had no trouble getting the $10,000, but he got a hernia carrying the hollow tree to New Jersey. Anyway, so I wasn't going to make it on my phone. So eventually, uh, came back from vacation, and I said, I really have to sit down and do it. But you know how after a while it just gets a little tough. So, but there are people who've sponsored episodes, and they're waiting to see their episode and their sponsorship, and I'm falling behind. And I finally said, okay, Adkan. I'm going to bite the bullet. And so that is the briefest introduction to the latest episode of the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And as always, we're happy to have you along for the experience, and we hope that you're enjoying it. And I am always very moved by people who tell me how much they enjoy the show and what they gain from it. And and it means a lot. I don't always respond to every letter because I mean to get to it, but I get distracted very easily. Part of my ADD. And add that to my old age, and add that to I constantly. I walk into the kitchen. I don't remember why. Open the refrigerator. I'm just staring. I don't know why. Life is a constant surprise. They say one of the nice things about getting old is you keep meeting new people, and sometimes they're family members. Anyway, so but the people who tell me that they enjoy the show, it means a tremendous amount. And I every now and then somebody will write me and they'll say, I'm sure you hear this all the time, and you're probably tired of hearing it, but it's so inspiring, means so much. And I'm like, no, I don't get tired of hearing it at all. I received a gift from my parents. It was a very special gift. It took many, many years to give this gift over. And it was years of convincing me that I'm a little yotzchak and I will never succeed at anything. And they reinforced this over and over and over again. So I never internalize the fact that anybody listens to me or that anything that I say makes an impact. It's my brain can't handle it. So because of that, Baruch Hashem, I'm protected from the vicissitudes of this profession, where you can start to take yourself very seriously. Somebody was getting involved in this field as a speaker, and they said to me, "What piece of advice can you give me?" I said, "When you start believing your introductions, it's time to get out of the field." Somebody once introduced Dovid Cohen at the convention, and it was really over the top. And he gets up and he's visibly moved, and he says, "I just wish my parents could have been here to have heard that. My father would have enjoyed it, and my mother would have believed it." When I was looking at direct events, why somebody who was in the shul saw the Shabbaton and saw what the effect it was having on the kids, and how dramatic it was, and called up my father and said, "I saw your son at a Shabbaton. I want to tell you what an unbelievable job he's doing." And my father said, "We wanted him to go to college." Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. So yeah, I appreciate it very much every time I hear that somebody's listening and someone appreciates it and someone gets something out of it. It's deeply meaningful. And we have a sponsorship for this podcast. For me, a very special one. It is from the Krupka family, a very famous family. I grew up. My father had a good friend, Mr. Krupka, when we were growing up in East Meadow. And of course, I've had some of the Krupka children as students over the years, and I've had the schus of working with a number of them. And this is a particularly moving sponsorship for me. It is sponsored by the Krupka family in honor of Rabbi Krupka, with shlomo yotzchak ben menashe. May his neshama have an aliyah. Amen. I had the schus of working with him. And he he was one of the unsung heroes of our generation. There are certain people who you don't appreciate who they are. Yeah, I was doing a Shabbaton once, and Rabbi Stavsky from Columbus, Ohio, was there, and I gave a special shout out, and I said, we take it for granted that there's Torah in America. We have no idea what it means, and the fact is that we're heroes like Rabbi Stavsky, who came out to Columbus, Ohio, and built the Torah community, and nobody appreciates it. Nobody appreciates what these people did. At a family bar mitzvah here in Eretz, so we were honored by the presence of Rabbi Meir Findel, and who was the founder and dean of the Hebrew Hunter of Nassau County. And one of my nephews was there, and they asked Rabbi Findel to speak, and he says to me, "Who's this guy?" I said, "Who's this guy? He's the reason you're a firm Jew today. That's who this guy is." Findel came out to Long Island and started the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County. There were no Orthodox kids, mostly conservative kids. I mean, overwhelming. And he built them into B'nai Torah. It was just an unbelievable accomplishment that he made. And one of those families was the Orlofskys. He convinced my father to send the younger boys. And that's the reason that our whole family became frum. And, I think my parents are up to 90 great-grandchildren at this point who are being brought up in Torah mitzvahs. And all of that's in the schus of Rabbi Findel. So Rabbi Krupka was one of those people. He was a builder in the old days, in the greatest sense of the word. He knew how to make Torah meaningful. And I did Shabbosim with him, and I did programs with him, and he was one of the greats of our generation. And if the schus of whatever we learn today has power, all of that power should go for him moving up even higher in Olam Haba. Yeah, there's a limitless amount that you can go up. Yeah. So Rabbi Krupka, we love you, and the whole Krupka family, and just great things for everybody. Okay, we had a break, but we were doing Pirkei Avos, as I mentioned. There's a minhag till Rosh Hashanah to do Pirkei Avos, and I said I would get through one more cycle. So I started the second cycle with Perek Aleph. We're now up to Perek Beis, and I flipped through the Parakim, and I love learning Pirkei Avos. And there's a minhag that we adopted in our family. I heard from a good friend of mine, Michal Kaplan, that his father-in-law of Aaron Weiner should have a refuah shlema. He would every Shabbos between Pesach and Rosh Hashanah go around and have everybody say the Mishnayos. Now, we don't go around. I read it, but I leave out the blanks and I let people fill them in. Yeah, because by this point we've been doing this for years now, and let them know. So one of my kids pointed out there are certain times when you don't even read the Mishnah, you just go like this. So they know it's a song. Yeah. Im ein ani li mili, min ani li mili, im lo achshav, okay. Al haTorah, v'yal avodah, v'yal gamilas chasadim. Okay. At the end of Perek Beis, there's a Mishnah that goes like this. It's an oldie. Rabbi Tarfin, hu ha'yomer, lo alecha hamlacha ligmar, lo alecha ligmar, velo ata ben chorin livatel mimena, velo ata ben chorin, velo ata ben chorin livatel mimena, Okay. You don't have to finish it. But neither can you say, I'm not going to do my part. What's the message? The message is profound, and it's something that I say all the time. I have certain catchphrases, yeah, that I say, certain expressions. I mentioned this, that on my 60th birthday, my children wrote a song incorporating a lot of my classic catchphrases. And they put together a video. It was a lot of fun. I have another friend of mine, was a Rudman, on his 60th birthday. He made a siyum on the entire Yerushalmi. It's similar. But anyway, I love to tell that story. Anyway, I have certain catchphrases. One of them is, just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you can't do anything. When you finish learning a sefer, Chumash, so we say chazak chazak v'niz chazek. And I heard Moshe Chaitzatzal many years ago, where he says, when you finish a sefer, there's two attitudes. One is, okay, I know that. I learned that. He told a story once where somebody asked, what should he learn during Musa Seder? Chofetz Chaim was very serious about the Musa Seder. We used to daven mincha at the beginning of the afternoon Seder at 3 o'clock, and then after we finished mincha till 4 o'clock, you sat and went Musa. Yeah. And they took it very seriously. Somebody said once, most yeshivas, when they have Musa Seder, so they learn Mishnah Berurah. He says, Chofetz Chaim, during Mishnah Berurah Seder, they turn it into Musa Seder. So I said this over once to a Chofetz Chaim guy, and he says, I saw the greatest Musa Haskell in the Mishnah Berurah the other day. It's funny you mentioned that. Art imitates life. Life imitates art. But anyway, so he says, there are certain people who haven't done. So he says, what should I learn during Musa Seder? He says, Masil Shashar, Rabbi Chait said. And the young man said, I finished it. And Rabbi Chait, he used to have his reading glasses. He had this movie that he goes, you finished it? You finished the Masil Shashar? The Vilna Gaon couldn't find one extra word in the first 11 prakim, and you finished it. So some people are like, yeah, I finished that. When I used to teach Gemara, so I'd give out my makomos. And guys would come to me after half an hour and they say, okay, what should I do now? I said, you finished it? He says, yeah. I said, you know it? He says, yeah, I know it. I said, what's the discussion? I didn't say I know every word, He gives 3 answers. Do you know what the 3 answers are? Says, go read it again. Yeah. When I was by Rabbi Krupka, he put down a Milchamas Hashem, that's the Ramban, and a Baal Ma'or, and that's the Ra'ah. And I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. Yeah. I couldn't understand. I couldn't figure out what they were saying. And I finally went to him and I said, I can't understand what's going on. He says, so read it again. I said, I did it 6 times. He says, 6 times? I'm a chamas? Tell me you did it 50 times, 80 times, 100 times. Then tell me you did it 6 times. Now, to be fair, R Orlofsky has a reputation for being an Eloi, for being a genius. And, Yeshiva Masechtas, how many times has he gone through them? And he goes pretty fast. I know because I saw him on the bus, and he pulled out Ksubas, and he says, we're going to do Ksubas next month, so I want to just quickly chazo over Ksubas. The next day on the bus, this was his bus seder. Next day on the bus, he had gone through about 60 daf. He's a smart guy. So a guy was collecting in England, and he had a night off with nothing to do, and he had the room next to Reb Tzvi, who was also collecting at that time. And he hears Reb Tzvi learning through the wall. And it was one of the Gemaras and one of the Babas that everyone's done in yeshiva from the time they were in sixth grade. And Reb Tzvi reads slowly the Gemara, and then the Rashi, and then the Taisus. And again, the same Gemara, Rashi, Taisus. And again, the Gemara, the Rashi, and Taisus. For 3 hours, the same piece of Gemara. He was going over it, over and over and over again. So you finished it. And then there are people who would say to me after Shir, Rebbe, I didn't understand anything. I said, you didn't understand anything? He says, no. I said, what's the Gemara's question? Okay. What's the Gemara's answer? Right. What's the Gemara's proof? Right. What's Taisus' question on that? What's Taisus' answer? What's his second answer? I don't know. I said, okay, so you know the whole sugya, but you didn't understand Taisus' second kasha, second teretz, and you say to me, I don't know anything? Because even though you don't know everything, it's not true to say I don't know anything. People ask a question, I don't understand the question. I never understood the question. How come Rosh Hashanah comes before Yom Kippur? Why don't we have Yom Kippur first and then get a kapara and then go in for the judgment? How can you get a kapara until you have a din? First you have a din, then you can try to change the din. But how can I ask you to pardon me for a crime that I haven't committed yet? Yeah. When Trump was running for president, him and Hillary Clinton were at some dinner where you're supposed to say funny things. He says, I was walking into the room, I bumped into Hillary. She said, pardon me. And he says, I have to get elected first. That was the only nice part. And then he started saying nasty things. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And parenthetically, I got a couple of comments. One person wrote me a very unpleasant email, very unpleasant, where he's saying, why do you say nice things about Trump? Do you know what he did on January 6th? Do you know what he did this? He did that, And I wanted to answer him, but I couldn't because he wrote me from some anonymous email and there was no way to respond to it, So if you're watching this, what I tried to write you was, I said President Trump was the most pro-Israel, pro-Jewish president in history. That's true. You don't like everything else that he did. You don't like his midos. You don't like the fact that he says nasty things. You don't like this. I don't care. A president who looks out for the well-being of the Jewish people is going to have a big place in the world to come. That to me is much more important than whether or not he said the right thing to the idiots wearing horns who went into the Capitol and sat in Pelosi's seat. Armed insurrection. Nobody had any guns. An unarmed protester was shot by a policeman. If that was a black person at a BLM rally, it would be a major scandal. But that was a Trump supporter. You can shoot them. It doesn't make a difference. I don't care. He was a tremendous Ohev Yisrael. He supported, and he gave Mussar to the Jews. He says, I don't understand. Why don't the American Jews care about Israel? He said. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this. I'm just, if you're going to write me a nasty email, then you have to give me the opportunity to respond. Okay? As I often do. I'm not so good at answering the ones where people actually ask real questions. The nasty ones I usually get. And sometimes I shouldn't. My wife always says to me, well, just don't answer it, Can't help myself. You'd think by this point I would realize that, most people don't don't really care. People who write nasty emails don't really care about what you have to say. They're not engaging in a conversation. Anyway, I'm digressing. Yeah. So so people say, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. You don't know anything? Just because you don't know everything. So, that was how I got into this. Why is Rosh Hashanah come before Yom Kippur? So, one of the reasons is because as much as you can be Zayich B'din, you should be Zayich B'din. And I always say, just because you haven't done everything doesn't mean you haven't done something. And you deserve to get a schus for what you did in din, for what you deserve, for what you actually accomplished. And that's what Rosh Hashanah is. Yeah, so then we fall short and we need Yom Kippur to make up for it. But the fact that that I was Zayich is something I did. So that's how Richard said Pshat. He says, Chazak to the people who think they know everything. Chazak to the people who think they haven't learned anything. And it's chazak and strengthen yourself and go back and learn some more. Yeah, learn some more. Keep growing. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmar. I don't have to do everything. But just because I can't do everything doesn't mean I can't do anything. There's a story in the original Chicken Soup for the Soul. But this guy walking along the beach, picking up starfish and throwing them back in the water. So someone looks at him and says, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He says, "Well, if I don't throw them back in the water, they'll die." He says, "But there's thousands of starfish. And this is happening on beaches all across the world. You can't make a difference." He throws in another one and says, "Made a difference to him." So just because I can't change everything doesn't mean that I can't change anything. Henach Leibowitz, the Shiva of Chavetz Chaim, used to say this all the time. Avraham Avinu was one person. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was one person, and they changed the world. When people talk to me about the different problems in society, and they say, "Why doesn't anybody do anything?" and I said, "I am. I'll save the world by myself. You want to help me? There'll be two of us. Otherwise, I'll do it myself. I just keep trying. I keep working. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what my impact is going to be. I got to do something. I got to try. I don't know where the effect is going to be. But whatever I can do, I have to do. I can't just sit back and say, I can't make a difference. I can't make a difference. Every time you do something in this world, you're changing the world. You're making it into a better place. My Hebrew is not so good, but no one makes a fuss. Now I mean it when I say the word. Anyway, it's fine. We're just listening to my Jewish English mix. It's like Country Boy, A.B. Rattenberg. Yeah, people appreciate his music, but I appreciate his lyrics. He has such a gift for writing lyrics. Yeah, there are so many people who write lyrics that are sort of like forced English, and that is what he had come, why he had been to come. He really cared some, and that's why it was to come. He comes up with the most amazing things, And so he has this song, Country Boy, about this Jewish kid in Kansas, doesn't even know he's Jewish, and he finds his way back, And he managed to capture the vocabulary of the country western song. I was like, and how our lives have meaning if we keep ourselves pristine. Nobody uses pristine except in country western songs. But anyway, it's brilliant. My Hebrew has a country twang, right? Twang. Maybe that isn't mine. But I make an effort in my own way to smile, say hello, say a nice word. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, whatever I could say to try to make things better. Do I make a difference? I assume I do. I might not be able to do everything, but that doesn't mean I can't do anything. So you can't sit back and say, listen, what am I going to do? The Batanura on the Mishnah Pirkei Avos, Kolafi Rova Maisa, says it is better to give $1 to 10 people than $10 to one person. Though it could be argued that you'll make more of a difference to that one person with the $10 than to 10 people with the $1. But that's not the point. The point is you have to give tzedakah. You have to make the world into a giving place. You have to try to help people. And just because I can't do everything, I can't solve all the problems. That doesn't free me from having to try within whatever opportunities present themselves to me to try to make a difference in the world. So I can't do everything. I can do something. Yeah. I remember when I ran NCSY in Long Island for 9 years. I moved to Preshow. So someone said to me, what about Klal Yisrael? I said, I saved Klal Yisrael already. I don't know why there's anything left to do, frankly. Didn't we take care of that already? Yeah. There's always more to do. And I can't do everything, but just because I can't save every starfish in the world doesn't mean that I can't make a difference to these few that I'm throwing in. And every time you give someone a smile or a kind word, or you have them over for a Shabbos meal, or you help them out with something, you change the world. You change the world. You change the world for the better. And that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. We have to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in this world to do something. Say the Chazal, just like there were 600,000 Jews at Har Sinai, there are 600,000 letters in the Torah. To tell you, every Jew is a letter in the Torah. So Rabbi Shishro pointed out there are 304,700 and something letters in the Torah, not 600,000. And 600,000 doesn't count the women, doesn't count the children, doesn't count the people over 60. Moshe and Aaron aren't included in the 600,000. So the answer is you have to look at it from the point of view of what's the message. The message is that you're a letter in the Sefer Torah. You might be the big ayin in Shema Yisrael. You might be a little vav someplace. Doesn't make a difference. Without you, Sefer Torah is puzzle. You make a difference in the world, and you have an obligation to do it. Lo alechem l'chalik mar. Lo ata ben charin lihivatel mimenu. Go out and do something great. And that doesn't mean that you have to, like I say, start a national organization. It could be a smile, it could be a kind word, it could be helping somebody. Whatever you can do, you can do. And like I say, just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you can't do anything. So we're back. I hope to have the next podcast out shortly. In the meantime, if you want to find out more about the show, you can go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com. You can leave a comment. You can sponsor an episode. You can download the song. You can write an email. You can have it your way. Hold the pickles, hold the lettuce. Special orders, don't upset. Anyway. All the garbage that I had pumped into my head when I was growing up. But anyway, so that's it. Everybody should have a wonderful time. It's so nice to be back with you. And that's it for this episode. I'm David Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode, and we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.